Life is full of hard decisions. Write your story or stay in bed. Make a YouTube video or keep watching TV and calling it research. Hit the like button or keep wondering when I'm going to get to the point. Character decisions are what make a story stick in a viewer's mind. It's the fun friction which gives a story emotional power, and I have to say that I haven't seen a character dilemma quite as fun as Jujutsu Kaisen's in a long while. That's why today we're going to show you how to incorporate the same powerful dilemmas in your own stories, how the show masterfully threads each character's fate to that of our main character, and finally, how the storytellers incorporated both a ticking clock and an ironic twist in the character dilemma. These are critical skills for great storytelling, which make the difference between a bestseller and a story that never gets picked up by a publicist. So, let's get started. Or keep procrastinating and continue death scrolling through YouTube. There are also some useful writing tools for free down in the description to help you plot your story. A character dilemma is the first major hurdle a writer has to overcome when getting their story together. A man wants to save the world. Fine. A woman wants to avenge her family. Fine. A group of teenagers wants to use Satan to fight lesser demons. Fine. That seems like enough to tell an entertaining story, right? Well, now look, while the premise of Scooby-Doo meets Yu Yu Hakusho sounds interesting, it's still only half the battle. Once you determine the big flashy idea of what your story is about, you need to make your characters conflicted about doing it. That's what creates the drama. But what does that mean? It means that anyone can save the world, but it's a lot harder to do so when the person ruining it is your father, or your great-great-great-great
A few moments later.
grandfather screwed up a few thousand years ago trying to save it the first time. Any woman can avenge her family, but it's not so easy when the person that screwed up your family in the first place is eerily similar to you, / maybe your dad. These are examples of internal character conflicts because the hero is struggling against internal demons while, in the case of Jujutsu Kaisen, struggling against literal demons too. For Yuji, this is the slow development of killing curses, which turn out to be human. He has a good heart, has a desire to save people, and wants to make his grandfather proud. But how exactly does he do that when saving people requires hurting people as well? Now, this is just Yuji's predicament, how his external want is in conflict with his internal need. It creates a tough ethical dilemma for our hero. But what happens when our hero's ethical dilemma becomes a world-ending issue for our other characters? For everyone else in the show, Yuji's conflict comes down to something far more cataclysmic than hurting or saving individuals. Because of Yuji's uncanny ability to eat possessed foods, and I don't mean ghost peppers, they can either unpeople this teenage boy with a heart of gold because he ate a couple of fingers, or risk the world's destruction while using the same teenage boy as a truffle pig for demon digits. The same way our central character has to sometimes do a bad thing for the greater good, our entire cast is caught up in a similar conundrum. This is such a peculiar and wickedly smart story design because it's essentially a reimagined Lord of the Rings. We have an item of ultimate power that needs destroyed, but several characters feel that they can control the power in the meantime to use it for good or evil. Frankly, what is better about Jujutsu Kaisen than the Lord of the Rings dilemma is that the ultimate evil is housed within a good person. So, not only do we have the moral dilemma of what should be done with unlimited, uncontrollable power, but we also have the emotional dilemma of what should be done with this good kid filled with demon fingers. Think about this from the audience's perspective. The One Ring would have been a lot harder to destroy if it was eaten by a baby before it got chucked in Mount Doom. But why this is so great for the writer is it allows for a great opportunity to hash out side character motivations and personalities, enhancing the conflict within the story, and ultimately enriching the story's depth. Gojo can be the magic master that believes he can control and eventually kill Sukuna. What if the writer puts doubt in our mind that Gojo can accomplish this task, and the man's hubris puts everyone else's life at stake? Fushiguro can feel conflicted about befriending a boy he knows will have to die one day soon, ultimately deciding that he'd rather side with evil to protect his friend rather than do the objectively right thing. Geto could decide that he can't control Sukuna, and therefore wants to destroy him early, making this villain an ally for the greater good of humanity. But the entire reason we can speculate these possible outcomes as audience members is because there are layers of complexity to both what our hero wants and what our secondary characters want. Conflict between desires, who lives and who dies, who wins and who loses. And that's to say anyone wins at all, because while this dilemma as to what should be done about Sukuna rages on, we also can't lose track of one very important, very dangerous factor. Normally when I talk about a ticking timer in storytelling, we're looking at something overheating on the stove, moving suitcases into a taxi, or checking behind the doors of a hotel hallway. We are counting down the moments until an activity is done, often prematurely, and our characters are left with unresolved emotions or, closer, more threatening problems. In the case of Jujutsu Kaisen, we are given a different sort of countdown, a countdown in which each step gets us closer to the story's end, but also risks our hero's life, brings Yuji one step closer to death, and brings Sukuna that much closer to lighting the world on fire with his Armageddon World Tour. In a lot of ways, progress for our story is bad for our hero, and potentially catastrophic for the world. This is such an effective strategy for adding tension to a story because now our hero is both a champion and our biggest threat, our unlikely savior and the knife hanging over our heads. As is the case with a lot of anti-hero stories, we find ourselves conflicted over rooting for the bad guy. However, in the case of Yuji and the Curse Crackdown crew, the story is presented in such a way that they are not committing evil deeds, they are just taking a massive risk with no great outcome. Even when the story eventually ends, either because Sukuna is reborn and our heroes lose, or when Sukuna is destroyed by destroying his vessel, we don't get a happy ending. This is the ultimate dilemma Jujutsu Kaisen places on its viewers, essentially putting their arm in a bear trap and waiting for it to spring. What the storytellers do is tell their audience that there will be a train wreck. You don't want to miss it, so don't look away. By showing the audience how things will inevitably go wrong from the very first episode, JJK hooks its audience with an inevitable catastrophe. So, what can you take from all this as a writer? A story isn't just about goals, it's about dilemmas. Your characters shouldn't just chase something, they should be torn between two impossible choices, doing the right thing versus the necessary thing, protecting one person versus saving many, holding on to love versus letting go. Jujutsu Kaisen works because Yuji's personal dilemma, how do I save people without losing myself, scales up into a world dilemma, should we kill the vessel or risk everything? That's the kind of storytelling that hooks an audience and refuses to let them go. So, when you're writing your own story, ask yourself, what does my character want? What do they truly need? And what impossible dilemma puts them at odds with the rest of the world in some form or another? If you can answer those questions, you don't just have a plot, you have a story that will stick in people's minds long after they close the book or turn off the screen. So, check out the rest of the channel for more writing advice, follow the link in the description for some writing resources, and then go write the best story possible.